to my channel, Edible Thoughts Makes. My name is Stephanie, and this channel is where I share with you my works in progress, finished projects, things I'm cooking up, books I'm reading, funny things my kids may say. My hope is that as you watch this episode and the previous episodes, that you find some inspiration along the way. This is episode 92. We are at the very end of September year 2022. We have had our first frost, and it's going to warm up a little bit over the next few days, but this morning it was in the mid-30s Fahrenheit, and I could definitely see my breath outside. I had cut a few dahlias last night, and I don't know if you can see them back here. I'll hold it up. Here are some of our gorgeous dahlias. I like these little ball ones that the petals bloom all the way around. And then these ones look like water lilies to me. And these ones are just a burst of sunshine with the red on the underside of the petal and yellow orange on the top part. And then let's see here, I can show you the other vase. Here's one of just the kind that looks like water lilies. I don't actually know what the variety is. I don't remember. But they're just so beautiful. And look how thick the stalk is. This isn't even the main stalk, and it's maybe a centimeter in diameter. The main stalks on some of the plants, I think are, I want to say maybe a quarter in diameter? Maybe? I've never actually measured, but it seems that way. Oh, welcome! Welcome if you're new or a returning viewer. I like to talk about gardening here, although 6-7 months out of the year we don't have much to report on a garden because our winter lasts for 6 to 7 months out of the year. Yeah, and we're closing up the garden soon, I guess. In this next month or so, we'll be doing a lot of cleanup and things like that. If you are new here, the way I organize or section up my videos is in the beginning, which you will have seen unless you skipped it, is usually a vlog of things happening in the last couple of weeks or whenever I recorded last. I think it would have been about 2.5 weeks ago, maybe-ish, since we last chatted. Usually there's nature footage and knitting footage and maybe garden stuff, but yeah, so I usually have that, and then we chit-chat a little bit, life updates, what I've been up to, and then I go into finished projects, and then works in progress, and then usually an eats and reads section where I talk about maybe books I'm reading, things I'm cooking, stuff like that. And then each one usually has a timestamp in the description box below this video. That way if you need to watch in sections or you're looking for something or whatever the case may be, it is hopefully easier to find. Links to things that I talk about will all be in the description box below this video as well. Sometimes you have to click on show more, or there's like a little arrow or something that you have to click on. I do use Ravelry, and I do use Ravelry project pages, and those are usually in a separate linked section. And then I also link to designers, makers, whatever things that I talk about below this video as well. All my videos include closed captioning. You can click on that CC button if you would like captions. Also, sometimes I tend to talk really quickly, so if you need to slow things down, then you can also adjust the speed on videos. You can go faster, you can go slower, whatever works best for you. I'm kind of impressed with myself that I remember to talk about all that stuff first. Usually I just jump into thinking, oh my gosh, where has the time gone? But yes, oh my goodness, where has the time gone? It is the very end of September. I can hardly believe it. I feel like September just snuck up on me and then I blinked and then it's over. I really like the month of September. I feel like that's when the season starts changing from summer to fall. The colors outside start changing. You feel it in the wind. The breeze just feels different between a summer breeze and an autumn breeze, and the kids are getting ready for school, and there's that excitement of the new notebooks, the pencils, all of that kind of getting together, gearing up for hopefully a good year. And yeah, so I can't believe September's almost over. And October is always fun because you've got pumpkin stuff and you're in full-blown autumnal mood, and we usually have had our first frost by then, so gardening stuff is wrapping up, and yeah, it's kind of like gearing up for hibernation. But yeah, and usually we get our first snow in October, and in October it always feels magical for that first dusting. In April it's usually less magical feeling, but you know, it's all good. So yeah, our temperatures have cooled down significantly. Like I said this morning, it was in the 30s, and I don't know what it is right now, but today might get up to low 60s, maybe. It's sunny, so it feels nice and warm. I feel like I'm in a good mood today. The weather is putting me in a good mood, but also lately, I've kind of jumped back into reconnecting with some people that I haven't seen in some time, and just kind of reconnecting, replugging in maybe. However way, I can't figure out how to very adequately describe it right now, but it's filling my cup, and I'm hoping to bring some of that energy here today so that hopefully I can fill your cup a little bit too and send you that positive energy and just bring a little bit of that to you, because it makes me feel really good, and I hope it makes you feel really good. And there's so much suffering and chaos and distractions out there in the world. Not even like, I mean, globally, yes, but even just in our own little worlds, and how sometimes we get stuck in our own heads, and we just can't get out of these loops sometimes. And I feel like I was able to get out of my loop recently, and it just felt really good. And I don't know if any of that made any sense to you. If it did, I'm glad. If it didn't, I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm feeling good today, and I'm really hoping to send some of that energy forth to you. I do have several, is it several? I have a few finished projects to share with you. Yeah, I'm looking down at my notes here. Like 4 maybe? 2 of them I was hoping to share with you last time, so like 2.5 weeks ago, but I couldn't because my daughter was wearing them to school. Yeah, so that. And then I do have a few works in progress to share with you. We'll kind of see where my energy level is by the time we get through all those things, because I don't want to, like, you know, go up on this very exciting thing and then kind of peter out and be like, okay, I'm done talking. So we'll see. I might have to take a break here and there, but I mean, that's not new news. Sometimes if you've been watching for a while, you know I'll pause for a little bit, go switch out laundry. I don't make you watch me do laundry, but I pause and I come back, and sometimes lighting might look a little different or whatever, but I don't apologize for it. It's real life. I've got things to do. I mean, this is included in the things to do. I enjoy talking to you, but you know, there's other things that I'm doing simultaneously as well. So, in my mug today, I will hopefully maybe share a video as I talk about it here on the side, because you can't see it and it's kind of exciting. It is butterfly pea flower tea, and it's blue. Now, in nature, there's not a lot of things I feel like that are edible that are blue. And this flower, when you add hot water to it, the drink is blue. The water is blue. And I tried to pour it into the mug so that you could see the color. So hopefully that'll be here on the screen if I remember to do that. And then if you add lemon juice to it, you'll turn it violet. It's so cool! I don't have lemon juice today, so I just put in some local honey, but it's really good. It tastes kind of earthy, maybe is the best way to explain it. It's not really sweet or tangy or spicy. I just feel like it's got a more mild flavor, and yeah, maybe a little bit earthy. Definitely like a soothing and it's caffeine free, so the kids can enjoy it too. Yeah, it's tasty. I like it. What's in your mug? Or do you have like an ice drink, or what's going on for you? Before I jump into the finished projects, I should probably just briefly mention what I am wearing. This is the Go Gently cardigan that I tested for Amy of Amy Sure Makes. I'm going to stand up, maybe push back my chair so you can see it better. So it is a cardigan with a delightful ruffle that goes all the way around. It is knit with fingering weight yarn that's held with a fuzzy weight yarn. And I used Purl Soho's linen quill in peony pink, and I held it with, I think it was called Coral something, and it's a discontinued fluffy yarn by Knit Picks. It was like, I think Surrey alpaca and nylon. Anyway, it's discontinued. They don't have it anymore, but it's so nice and soft and fuzzy, and I have these floral buttons on here. I can't really tell you where they're from because it was from some yarn I had purchased, and it had the like extra goodies stuff, and it had buttons with it. But these floral buttons I had been saving for several years, and they just go perfectly with this. Now, something that's different from when I had finished this, I think it was in April maybe, April of this year, is that I am so used to binding off loosely because I don't like a tight bind off, but in a cardigan I didn't realize that I don't need to bind off loosely. In fact, I don't want to bind off loosely because if I do, then the button band gets stretched out, the neck band gets stretched out. So that was my fault. Not fault, that was my doing. So I did a crochet slip stitch edge with the Purl Soho linen quill along the inside. Let's see if I can show you. I'll just unbutton here. Hopefully I can show you the edging. So because it's a bind off, I just picked up one leg of the V from the bind off. I'm hoping this is focusing here, but I can't really see if it is, so I apologize if it is not focusing. So I just did a crochet slip stitch edge, and I used a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook to do that. And so yeah, I just picked up the inside leg of that V from the bind off, and I just did a slip stitch edge all the way up the button band, around the neckline, and then down the button band. And you don't see it at all because on the inside, but it gives it this reinforcement to keep it from stretching out. And I wanted to bring in my neckband a little bit more because again, I had bound off too loosely. And so it provides great structure. Can you see the V's here from my slip stitching, from my crochet edging? But see, it's on the inside. Isn't that really cool? So you don't even see it, but it's there. So, anyway, that's the only thing I did different since the last time I talked about it. But yeah. Okay, let's go into finished projects now. The first finished project I'd like to share with you is my daughter's cardigan. Let me see if I can find it in here. It is a pattern by Amba O'Brien. It's the Pop Crop Cardi. Now this cardigan is written for, I think 9 sizes or something. Let me see if I can pull it up here. And it is not a children's pattern, but it is written for negative ease. So what I did is once I measured my daughter's chest circumference, I went back to the pattern and looked at what the measurements were on there, and Amba has it listed as sizes available to fit a certain circumference, not your finished project circumference. So I'm not going to give that information away because it's not listed here on the pattern. But what worked for me then was to knit the first size, and it's a DK weight, so I also use DK weight, and I use the same needle sizes, and it's a, I think US 6, which is a 4 millimeter, but then instead of just using DK weight yarn, I held fingering weight double. Now I can't remember if I talked a little bit about the yarn process in previous episodes. I think I did. But I picked 2 fingering weight yarns that were pretty similar, but not entirely. One of them could have pooled if I only held it by itself, and so holding it double marls it a bit, where you break up some of the variegation and you get a more even fabric. So that's what I did. And then you pick a contrast color for button band and ribbing, and that one I used just a regular DK weight yarn. So, are you ready to see it? Dun 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 dun! Here is her cardigan. I'm going to hold it up closer so that the speckling and fabric is more visible. So it's a light gray base with some blue. There's a little bit of green and pink speckling. It is so beautiful, and there is no pooling at all. It is such an even fabric. If someone told me this was just one DK weight skein, I would believe them. It is that even. And then I have this mauvey dusty pink for the neckband and the ribbing. And the buttons actually match the same buttons that are on my cardigan. So I sewed on these floral buttons for her. Now the pattern does not have you do any buttons, so I added in the buttonholes on this side. I followed a pattern by Stephen West for the buttonholes, and I thought they turned out really nicely. Oh, the buttons, so okay, I should have made the buttonholes a little bit lower, so instead of starting up here with 1, 2, 3, I probably could have gone down a little bit, like just shifted everything down. But you know, once you make the buttonholes, you can't really go back unless you redo the entire button band, and I wasn't going to do that. The reasoning is, I kind of forgot that it was a V-neck. So the shaping in the front, which is so lovely, is a V-neck. So with a V-neck, you can't have the buttons super high up, because then it kind of, I don't know if I can show you, it kind of comes in weird, right, on the shoulders. But because it's my daughter wearing it, and it's positive ease instead of negative ease, for now, she actually can button all 3, and it doesn't pull too strangely, because her shoulders are narrower. So it actually works out. And I think as she grows, and if it still fits, she could probably just button the bottom one and leave the top 2 open. So yeah, she really loves it, and the reason I couldn't tell you all about it is because she had been wearing it every single day. In the beginning, like the first day, she actually wore it to sleep because she thought it was so cozy, and she just loves it. And my kids are super, super knit-worthy. I mean, they request stuff all the time. I mean, I can't knit that fast, but they just love, 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 and just wear everything that I make. And I involve them in like the color decision process and stuff. Like I'll give them options and say, okay, these are your options, what do you think? And we'll talk through it and sort it out and figure out what they want. And this color combo matches a lot of things that she has in her wardrobe, and it's easy to match because it's a softer colors, and so I feel like it doesn't really clash as much with anything. But yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to add to this. I think when adjusting, like, you know, how long to knit the sleeves and body, that you just have to measure whoever your intended wearer is and adjust as needed. I can't remember if I ended up having to adjust much. I think I had to adjust maybe sleeve decreases, so just like do it faster in the sleeve decreases because her arms would be shorter than an adult's. As far as how much yarn I used, let's see. I used almost 85 grams of the contrast color, which is DK weight yarn. And then for my other yarn, I think I almost used up all 2 skeins. So I think, yeah, I had like 8 grams remaining out of 210 grams. So yeah, about 200 grams. So 200 grams of the fingering weight yarn and about 85 grams of the contrast yarn. And it's all superwash merino. I think the pink is 100% superwash merino, and then the fingering weight yarn is sock yarn at 75-25. Superwash merino nylon. Excuse me. And I wanted to use superwash merino because kids get really dirty and I want to be able to wash it really well, and I needed it really soft because she's someone that's very tactile, and I didn't want to spend a lot of time making something that she wasn't going to wear. And she loves this soft merino, and so that is what we went with. Next item is also for our daughter, and I don't think I mentioned it earlier. So if you're new here, my husband and I, we have a first grader and a fourth grader, and that's who I make a lot of stuff for. And little kid stuff is so much fun to make. It's so cute, and it works out much quicker than an adult item. But more so because I know that once the older one outgrows it, the younger one can still wear it. And I also have a niece who's even younger, so things can keep being worn. So I think it's totally worth it, even if they grow super fast. Okay, the next item is a pair of socks. Oh, aren't these so fun? I just love them. There's some wood chips stuck to them. So these are some socks that I knit for our 9-year-old. I did a fold over cuff, and I have a tutorial for that here on my YouTube channel. I'll try to link to it in the description box below or have it linked on the corners here. But basically I used a contrast color first, and then I knit X number of rounds, and it'll be more rounds than I knit when I join in the main color before I fold wrong sides together and knit to the cast on edge. And something nice about doing that with self-striping yarn is I don't have to guess how much yarn I need to do my long tail cast on with to make sure my striping starts at the exactly same spot. Now if that doesn't bother you, that's fine too. But on this yarn, so I had 2 50-gram balls. Actually, I think they were a little bit less than that, but approximately 2 50-gram balls of this yarn. It's Knit Picks Felici yarn. Felici or Felici? I never know what it is, and I haven't had anybody tell me one way or another. Do you know? It's Felici. The colorway is, I have no idea. The colorway is, I apparently didn't write it down. Let me see if I have it on my Ravelry project page. Give me a second here. This is what happens when I don't talk about it right away. I don't remember anything. You know, your brain only has so much space to put information in. Punky! Punky is the colorway. So I wanted to start at the same spot. There was a little bit of orange in the beginning, so I just kind of used that and went with it. And then I went to a shadow wrap heel. Oh, my contrast color is a Seconds yarn, which is like a one-of-a-kind, no colorway name, dyed by Gwen of Bella Filato Studio, and it's a 75/25 superwash merino nylon, I believe, and that's the same as the Knit Picks base. So I did a shadow wrap heel, following a tutorial by my friend Denise of Earth Tones Girl. She has a great tutorial on how to do it, and I'll make sure that's in the description box below as well. Or, I say make sure, but I will try my best to make sure it's down there. And if it isn't, let me know. But yeah, so I did that in between the stripes, and then I kept going, and I finished the toe with one of the stripe colors. I did not switch back to a contrast color. And I ended up using, how much yarn did I use? Contrast color, I used about 11-12 grams. Main color, I used about 40-ish grams. And I used ChiaoGoo US 1 or 2.25 millimeter 9-inch circulars. I do that for the whole thing until I get to the toe. And then I switch to 32-inch magic loop. I cast on 56 stitches for her, and because this is a lighter fingering weight yarn at 463 yards for 100 grams, my gauge is tighter than it would be if it was like a 400 yard for 100 gram yarn. So I cast on 56 stitches. I don't actually remember what my gauge is. We could measure it real quick. If I can find a ruler here. Where did my ruler go? Maybe I won't measure the gauge for you real quick because I can't find my ruler. But I think it's about 8.5 stitches per inch on here. Which, if we do the math, at 56 stitches divided by 8.5, that's 6.6 inches finished circumference, which then gives her about ½ an inch of negative ease, because her feet are a 7-inch foot circumference, and her shoe size is like a youth 1, 2. Although her sneakers I buy US 3 so that she has more room in them to grow because kids' feet grow super fast. So let's just say her shoe size is like a US youth 2. Which maybe the foot length would be more useful to you think it's almost 8 inches, 7 3/4. Now, I share that information with you not just to bore you with a bunch of numbers, but in case you have someone in your life who has similar measurements, this might give you a starting point to jump off of. I feel like sometimes we just don't know where to start, we're not really quite sure, and I feel like sometimes if you have some information to go off of, it can help get you jump started. So that's my purpose for sharing all that information with you. Next finished project is also a pair of socks. These are also not for me. These are going into the gift knitting basket that I have, usually for Christmas and birthdays. They usually have someone assigned to them already before going into that basket, but some people talk about, you know, when do you start gift knitting, when do you start Christmas knitting, holiday knitting, that kind of stuff. I basically do it year-round because I like to have everything done by the end of November so that I have time to mail things out, and also so that I can enjoy the December season. I don't want to be cramming constantly in December because it takes the joy out of it for me, and that's not fair. Not saying that I don't, you know, still have things to make in December sometimes, but yeah, I just do my gift knitting year round so that I am not super stressed out when it comes to crunch time. Here are the beautiful socks. These socks are so much fun to knit. I used Knit Picks. So Knit Picks Hawthorne fingering, which is a little bit heavier weight. It is 357 yards for 100 grams. So I actually used a US 2 or a 2.75 millimeter needle, also 9-inch Chowgoose. This is my main color called Peach Melba. And then my contrast color is called Compass. So Peach Melba is like a cream with orange and gold speckling, and Compass is a tonal golden yellow. This yarn is 80% superwash fine Highland wool and 20% nylon. It's very hard wearing. I knit my husband a pair of socks out of Knit Picks Hawthorne, I think 3 years ago, and they've held out really well. I've not had to mend anything, and yeah, they've held up great. So I ended up using, let's see, how much yarn did I use? Almost 60 grams of the main color and about 8 grams of the contrast. So I cast on 56 stitches, and I did just the cast on with the contrast color and did 1 round of knit 2 purl 2, and then I cut that, joined my main color, knit 1 round without doing any purling, and then continued in my ribbing. And that just gives it a very neat transition. So I did my ribbing for I think 24 rounds, and then I just went to stockinette for 40 rounds, I believe. And then I did a shadow wrap heel. And then I knit, how many? I think I knit 64 rounds in the foot. And then I did the toe, and I continued the toe and the main color. And if I could find my ruler, I would tell you how long these are, but I think I knit them to fit like a US 8-ish women's shoe size. Yeah. So, these are these socks. They're so fun, and they're beautiful, and they've been blocked, and they will be gift tagged and going into the gift bin. So I finished my Anne's puffed sleeves sweater, which is a test for Amy Sure, but it isn't releasing until I think the first week of October or end of the first week, sometime in there. She's dropping an Anne of Green Gables collection, which is so exciting. But yeah, so I'm not going to talk about that today. I will probably talk about it on the next episode, so that's exciting. I think we'll go into works in progress now. And let's see, what should we talk about first? I have this in front of me, so let's start with this. I am participating in Denise of Earth Tones Girl, her Falling Leaves sock knit along. And I started participating in this knit along in 2019, which is when I started knitting socks. I started knitting socks in August of 2019, and so I participated in her Falling Leaves Sock Cal. She usually hosts it from, I think, like mid-September to mid-November, and it's just really fun to have a lot of people knitting socks at the same time, inspired by fall and autumnal colors and Halloween and basically all things that come around with this season. So I pulled together some yarns, and this is the first pair of socks that I'm knitting. I'm going to pull out my yarn so you can see it. So I have this main color, and this is by Kim of Kim Dyes Yarn. And this is her sourdough sock base, which is an 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. And I just love how it has this warm, rich brown with orchid and pink and gold. And it's so lovely. And I will show you the start of my socks. I knit them 2 at a time on their own needles, usually 9-inch circulars. And usually ChiaoGoo is the brand that I like. I like the really smooth join between the needle and the cable. I like the memory-free cable. It's very flexible without like bunching on itself. So here are my socks. Uh-oh, and runaway yarn. Hold on. Maybe I'll leave this yarn in the bag so that it doesn't roll away. That would be a smart thing to do. Okay, here are my socks. I knit them usually cuff down instead of toe up. And I did the fold over cuff again. So I started with my contrast color, and this one is a sparkly yarn left over from my Christmas yarn advent calendar last year. It's a sparkly pale orchid color, and that's that's dyed by River of a Knitter's Homestead. And it was left over from my main skein of yarn that I had knit another pair of socks with, and that's what I think I still even have a little bit left. And then I'm doing a 3x1 rib, so knit 3, purl 1. So that's all around on the leg for a nice stretch. I did a shadow wrap heel, and then I'm continuing the 3x1 rib on the instep of the foot and stockinette on the bottom. You can really see how this color is knitting up this fabric. Here on the bottom of the foot. Oh, it's so lovely. I love more variegated yarns for small projects like socks, and maybe less so in a garment where I might worry about pooling or wonder where that, splotch of color is going to end up. But in socks, I find it so much fun. And I feel like in socks, it's a great way to experiment with different colors and play around with just different things on a smaller canvas. I have light bulb stitch markers marking every 10th round, and then I have these Progress Keepers by my friend Maria of Woolen Forest. Forest Charm is her Etsy shop. I have a rose gold pine cone on this one, and then I have a Morganite gem and a rose gold leaf on this one. And this is the project that I keep in the car. The kids have a lot more activities this year than in the past, and so there ends up Mommy Taxi, or I guess nobody knows a taxi anymore maybe, Mommy Uber, Mommy Bus, ends up all over the place, and I am not complaining, so I don't need anybody to tell me I'm gonna miss it or anything like that. I'm just stating a fact that Mommy is driving around all over the place, and it's just my life right now. And so I keep this project bag in the car so I can knit a few rounds whenever I can. And yeah, do you love this bag? I love it so much. This patchwork project bag I sewed up, I don't know if it was earlier this year or last year, but I was really craving like shades of purple and ochre and navy, and so that's what I did. So the front is patchwork, and the back is purple floral. It's drawstring. The inside's lavender with horseshoes. And when I can, I always include the selvage edge because why not? It's fabric and it's kind of fun. And I usually put a jump ring inside to hold Progress Keepers or things like that as I am kind of setting up the bag, or the light bulb stitch markers go there and stuff like that. I do not have a pattern. I do not have tutorials for making the bags. I don't usually even take notes. So I just kind of make it up as I go, and whatever I feel like is what happens. This one has a denim boxed bottom. if you're interested in knowing how to make bags, there's tons of stuff out there on YouTube. I would just recommend Googling, searching on YouTube. What do you call searching on YouTube? Like searching on Google is Googling, so, but you don't say YouTubing. You just say search on YouTube, right? Maybe you know. I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, what I mean to say is there's tons of resources out there, so find something that resonates with you and you can make your own bags. The next, you know what? Before I tell you about my next work in progress, I want to show you the next yarn that I want to cast on for the Falling Leaves sock knit along. And this is something so special. So I bought this yarn from Denise when she, I guess, released it. I don't know what you say. But so she collaborated with Michelle of Woolens and Nosh to create this self-striping yarn. And it's 90% superwash targhee and 10% nylon. It's a 3-ply. It's a very plump, round yarn, and I've knit with it before. I love Michelle's yarn, and this color combination is so much fun. It's like a bright autumnal palette with pink and yellow and kind of a maroon raspberry color and a red brown color, and that's the it's in the striping but also in the mini skein. So it's called Falling in Love. Here's the tag. Here's the ball band with Michelle's super cute logo of a sheep on a pie, and then Denise's Earth Tones Girl logo. So as soon as I'm done with those other socks, this will be my next cast on. I have 2 works in progress that are both test knits right now, and one is due really soon and the other one isn't due until November. And I think I'm just going to talk briefly about them, like maybe just show them to you and not say too much, because I don't love talking too much in detail about test knits before they're released, just because things can change and, well, they're still in testing. So the first one I think I'm going to share with you is the Heartwood Stripes sweater pullover. Pullover or sweater? I don't remember. It's by Tiff of Tiff Hand Knits. And, nope, that's not this one. It's in this, sorry. It is in this autumnal bag that I sewed up last year before, I don't remember. It's got that beautiful rusty orange that I love, and bees, and the bees are very busy right now, and flowers, and oh, I just love it so much. Okay, so let me just show you where I'm at. Actually, let me show you the yarns first. So I'm using Earl Grey Fiber Co. This is the rose gold colorway. It's 100% superwash merino at 231 yards for 100 grams. It's got this like caramely brown with bits of pink and olive in it, and it is so pretty. And then the contrast colors are also by Heather of Earl Grey Fiber Company. This is called Autumn Walk, and it's like a pinky orchid with gold and brown in it. And my other contrast color is Bosque, and that's like an olivey green that is very vibrant and rich in color. And let me show you my work in progress. A lot of things are on cables right now, so should be okay to show you. Here it is. Oh, it's so beautiful. I love this collar, I love the texture and the striping. Here are my sleeves, here's the body. I'm going to be trying it on today or tomorrow, and so what I do is I have interchangeables, and some interchangeable cords, they have like a connector. So basically I'll connect this, I'll take off this stopper, and then I'll put on the connector to like make it even longer, and then I can try it on. So that's what I like to do, and that's what I will be doing. And yeah, I think this is coming out maybe middle of October. Yeah, I need to get it finished up. And this is where I'm at, and it's so pretty and drapey, and I've done a steam block on it just so I can get a semi-accurate fit check. And yeah, it's so drapey and beautiful, and oh, it's so lovely. So I think that's all I'm going to tell you about it. Keep an eye out for it. I will probably talk about it as a finished project in maybe 2 episodes from now. So not the next one, but the next one. The next test knit is in this autumnal bag that I sewed up. I really like these tote and drawstring bags because they are great sweater size. So I can put it over my shoulder and also cinch it up to make sure nothing falls out. It's just very convenient for me and still squishy, so it's not like it's taken up a ton of space. But it's squishy and yet it still stands up, so that works well for me. This, I don't believe I showed last time because I don't think I had started it yet when I was recording. This is the Fall Frolic test and the designer's Samantha Guerin. And this is my swatch. Isn't it a beautiful swatch? I don't always swatch in the round, hence all this fringe, but I will for color work because I can't swatch color work flat. And then I will include a tag so that I know what needle size I used, what yarns I used. Sometimes I include what needle I used because your tension can vary if you're using wooden needles versus metal needles. And then I'll write the gauge on there. So this is my swatch. The yarns I'm using are all Purl Soho Linen Quill, and my contrast colors are all remaining yarns from the half and half triangles wraps that I have made. And the main color I'm using is called Peach Stone, and I'm not sure the color will get captured accurately here because it's like a gray brown, but there's a lot of other colors in it. Like there's kind of a like more reddish colored, and there's more purpley color. It's one of those yarns that has so many other colors in it, and depending on the lighting it can look one way or another. So I don't know if any of it's showing up, but I tried. Now I'm going to show you my work in progress. Ready? Dun, 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 dun. Here we are. I've not split for the sleeves yet, so this is the yoke. I have picked up for the neckband. So my neckband is nice and neat. And yeah, I am really enjoying this knit. It's all fingering weight, so it takes a while, but I think it's so worth it. And I really like how my colors are turning out. So this top one is honey pink. It's kind of a golden beige color. Then I have turmeric yellow, which is a gold, peony pink, which is a very pale pink, and then rosewood pink, which is like a dusty, deep pink mauvey color. So stay tuned for this one. I've got till like November-ish, so this will be a project that'll probably show up from time to time as I continue working on it. Last work in progress to share with you is my half and half triangles wrap number 5. This one is called Passion, Purpose, and Possibilities. Passion, Purpose, and Possibilities. And the colors I am using are Poppy Red, or Red Poppy. I never remember which way it goes. And my second color is Rhubarb Pink. So I've got this orangey red with this cool fuchsia magenta color. And I'm currently on my first cake, and I've gone over details before, so I feel like this is a project either I talk about once a month or I just don't share all the details every time, because I'm sure some of you don't want to hear about it over and over again, but the reality is that I'm always making one and knitting one, and I don't want to assume that everybody knows everything about it already, and yet I don't want to bore people. So I don't really know what like a happy medium in there is, but I'm just gonna go with whatever I feel like. So yeah, here we are. I cast on a size that's in between the smallest size and the largest size. It is a free pattern by Purl Soho, and there's a new striped one out. Yes, I've seen it. I mentioned it on my last recording as well. It's amazing. For me, I just like the fact that I don't have to look at a pattern for it, and that I just have 2 colors to pick from, and that's just how it goes for me. So even though I do think that striped color blocked updated version is amazing and it's going to look amazing, this is what I'm gravitating towards right now, and this is what I want to make. So more power to you if you're going to create that new color story and make that amazing wrap. This is where I'm at. So I cast on 230 stitches for this one. Smallest size in the pattern is 190, larger size 260, and I believe the striped pattern one is like 290 for the cast on. I might be wrong, but I thought that's what it was. So anyway, I find that if I cast on somewhere in between, I can just use 2 skeins of each color instead of needing a little more than 2 skeins, which then you would have to buy a third one and then just use some of it, and that's more cost, right? So if I can just use almost 2 skeins fully, then that works for me. I think I usually end up with like 10 grams left or something, which is perfect for like a color work project or something else that I am making. So this is where I'm at with this. It's a Sea of Garter that I love, and if you don't make it! I feel like I always have to put that disclaimer in there because someone inevitably always says like, oh, I can't believe you're making another one, or how can you make so many of these, or, you know, I could never imagine knitting that for so long I'd get bored. Well, you might, and there's legitimacy in your boredom with it, and that's totally fine. This is what I gravitate towards late at night. I mean, not super late, but you know, I'm putting the kids to bed. They want mommy to sit in there for a little bit. I use like a neck light and knit in the dark. I mean, I'm not in the dark because I've got a light on, as they're falling asleep, or if they're reading and I'm helping them with hard words. I can't be sitting there counting stuff and being present with them if I'm knitting anything that requires any more mental space than I have at the end of the day. And so this allows me to just kind of check out. And not in a bad way, but in a way where I don't have to think about it. It's comforting. It can be meditative for me. I can sit in silence or not in silence, but it's so reassuring. It's like a very reassuring make that I can just pick up and all I need to do is knit. And yes, there are short rows, and I do German short rows instead of wrap and turns, but again, that just comes at the end of a row and I just have to knit. And that's sometimes all I want to do. Sometimes I don't want a brain exercise. Sometimes I don't want to have to answer a hard question. Sometimes I don't want to have to like figure out how to best reason something with a child in a situation that might be unreasonable. Like sometimes I just want to knit. Can anybody relate to that? If you can, comment below. For all the projects. Now we are on to eats and reads. I haven't really been reading anything of late. I feel like all my energy has gone towards the start of the school year and getting the kids kind of settled into a new routine, and I'm just exhausted by the end of the day, honestly. And so I haven't really been reading anything right now. And if you know from the past episodes, usually if I start reading something, I have to do it at night so that I cut myself off so I go to bed. But sometimes I end up not going to bed and I end up reading for a long time if I'm really into the book, and I just don't think I have the energy capacity to do that to myself right now, so haven't started any new book. Cooking wise, because it is now definitely soup season, which I cook soups year round, but this is when I take out, you know, the slow cooker almost, well, not every day, but definitely weekly. And there's always soup going and bread baking, and it's so comforting and delicious. I made a curry the other day, loosely based off of one of the curry recipes in the Isa Does It cookbook. I'll pop a picture of that cookbook here. I don't have a picture of what I made because, well, we ate it and I didn't take a picture of it. I made a soup the other day, not in the slow cooker, on the stove. I just kind of made it up as I went. That I have a picture of, so I'll pop that here on the screen so you can see it. Someone asked for a recipe. I don't have a recipe for it. I just put whatever in that I thought smelled good, felt good, and would taste good, and it was so good. The rest of the leftovers went with my husband for lunch the next day to work. Do you have any favorite slow cooker recipes? It doesn't even have to be a recipe you can link to online or whatever. You can just tell me about it if you want to, or maybe you have great memories with it. I'd love to hear about it. I just feel like food connects us in ways that we might not even fully understand. And yeah, anyway. So I think I did a ton of talking today. I hope you are doing well. I hope I didn't talk too fast. I feel like I talked really quickly. I don't really know how long I've been talking for, but anyway, my tea is definitely not hot anymore. But yeah, I hope you are doing okay. There's a lot of chaos in the world, and not ignoring it. We know it's there, we acknowledge it's there, but we also need to take care of ourselves in order to process things and to help our neighbors and to be productive in society. And I don't mean productive in like a quantifiable way. I mean productive as in like doing good out there, and I've had some really good conversations lately with people, and it filled my cup and made me feel, one, not alone, literally and figuratively, but also just kind of ignited a little bit of something in me that said, yeah, we are enough to do something. We are enough to make a difference. We are enough to change something, to bring about positive energy, to bring about positive change, to turn things around, to make a difference, to teach our children that, painful things don't have to stay painful forever, that being upset doesn't mean you'll feel upset forever. And yeah, there are a lot of thoughts going on in my head. There are a lot of things going on in my heart. And I hope I was able to bring you a little bit of that positive energy today. I'm hoping that I could fill your cup just a little bit today, maybe inspire you, maybe pass on some creative energy, maybe get you excited about color combinations or seasons changing or something. Well, anyway, with that, cheers to being creative, and I hope you're doing well, and I will talk to you next time. Take care.